Welcome back, everybody, to the channel, Gearheaddaily. I am your boy, Eric, as usual, beard, mustache on point, and that usually stands for I'm ready for the day, and we're here with Joey Prince. You are the owner of Epic Auto Solutions, is that correct? You're detailing business, that sort of thing?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. So I've been doing this professionally for about 5 years now. Really took a liking to it while I was in the Army, and kind of got benefits from having a clean car, got days off, and then started having people ask me, hey, can you clean my car? I need a day off. And it just
Nice.
kind of transpired into a great business idea, which led me to the point where I am today.
Well, I think that it's pretty impressive that you've been able to do this full time because at least, and maybe my experience is unique because I'm in Minnesota, a lot of the detail guys here can't do it full time. They can only do, they do onesie twosies here and there, but I don't know, how have you been able to kind of keep it up for so long?
A lot of it has just been sheer drive. I hide the fact that I've had other jobs and
Mm-hmm.
behind the scenes gigs, all the side work, doing landscaping, hell, picking up groceries for the old lady down the street who can't make it for 20 bucks here and there. Everything I did was just to strive for the betterment of the business. Any free moment I had, I spent marketing the business, going out searching for that next client and really not being afraid to tell people that, hey, I'm an auto detailer. Who cleans your car? Let's go check it out. Maybe just give me a shot and we'll see where it takes us. Never be afraid to approach somebody. I was always told they put their pants on the same way you do, and that couldn't be more true.
That like that SNL bit, guys, I put on my pants just like everybody else.
Yeah,
When I put my pants on, I make gold records.
That's right. That's right. And it was a constant drive, and to still have that and to keep the people around you with a similar mindset, that really helps to boost it. You don't want to bring somebody on board who just is there for a paycheck.
Yeah, exactly. So are you're full-time now? Or you don't do any
Yeah,
other side gigs?
I do no other side gigs. We're booked out about a month and a half at any given time, which is
Nice.
really nice. And
Nice.
having the really nice climate out here during the winter time, we really have a year-round business. And to have that business opportunity, I guess, lie within this demographic is great. Being up where you're at in Minnesota, you guys lose 5 months out of the year to just being
Easily.
shut out due to weather.
Oh, easily. And you're right. You're just outside of Vegas, right?
Yeah, just outside of Vegas, in between Death Valley and Vegas. So the hot spot right in the middle.
So you must do a lot of work in Vegas then to do some of like those cars?
Surprisingly not.
Really?
I kind of backed away from that demographic. I was living out in Vegas. I moved from Northern California, leaving there due to California regulations on small businesses, ultimately pushing me out. Moved back to Vegas around my family, and I realized that every guy just beginning was undercutting the next guy by 30%. Well, how far can you cut somebody to where you have a $20 wash? It's just not, it's not feasible. And the economy out here, it was kind of tailored towards that real cheap wash. Just have my car clean, not detailed like the car guy wants.
Yeah, right.
And then you get into those guys that have just enough knowledge to screw up the job. And then they come to us.
And they don't have any insurance and scratch up a car or
exactly,
that sort of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. So I left that demographic and I'd moved out to Pahrump, this small little town of about 50,000 people. Okay. And it's a fixed income community. So I had to kind of change the business plan around. And when I did that, I realized that maybe just the quick $80 wash, go from being a NASA engineer down to a science school rocket teacher,
Sure.
And provide that service for the community. And it has exploded as far as our profit margins go.
Oh, really? Okay. So you went after just a different demographic then.
Absolutely. Yeah. Always find your client first. Mm-hmm. And then tailor your business plan accordingly to meet the need of that client. Don't necessarily have a service and then go try to sell your service to a client that has either, can't afford it or you've outpriced yourself out of the competitive market.
You've seen the movie Beautiful Mind, right?
I can't say that I have.
Okay, it's about John Nash, and he's an economist who inevitably
Sure.
won the Nobel Prize for economy, and one of the scenes in the movie is like they went to a bar, and there's three women in front of them, and there's three guys. It's me and two buddies, and he makes this revelation that if we all of us go after the pretty girl, like the pretty one, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody loses. But if I recognize that, you know what, maybe I'm not the best looking one, and maybe she's not interested in me, there's somebody for me. And I think that's kind of that same, that's an oversimplification of his theory. But
sure.
I think you've got a point. You have to find your niche and what you're good at, and the clientele that you kind of best serve. And it sounds like you found that those folks.
Sure. And it's not necessarily that if somebody were to walk in and say, hey, I have this Ford GT, I just purchased it, I need it taken care of. It's not that we can't take it care of. It's just we need to standard business practices of tailoring a package necessary for your clients. And that's where I see a lot of young entrepreneurs, even just within this realm, where they fail. It's, yeah, sure, we can do it, I may not know what I'm doing, instead of building the industry as a whole and referring someone else, and vice versa, those other shops taking care of each other.
Referrals are, it's amazing how people do refer to each other. I'd met some people who are kind of anti-referral to other people. Well, that's me giving away business. And I'm going, no. You're building relationship with that other place. Sure. When you're busy, for example, say, look, I'm busy, but I really trust these people over here. They're gonna hear that, and hopefully, it'd be nice and courtesy for them to give you a call or send you an email and be like, hey man, thanks for the
sure.
Referral. And then you built a relationship.
Absolutely. And I have these young entrepreneurs here, even locally, kids fresh out of high school, in their early years of college, just trying to get by, asking me, how do I do it in a fixed income community?
Sure.
I tell them I'm not afraid to. And I've always been one of those that welcomes that healthy competition, because it gives your clients options. It expands the light that's on your industry, whether it's mechanics, whether it's, performance, even cleaning cars. I mean, we're essentially just maids for cars, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I think everyone deserves a clean car.
Well, and you've seen that meme where it's like, where it says guy's car, and it's the inside of it's just like pristine.
Yeah.
Room, and it's just completely destroyed, that sort of thing. That is totally true. All
Absolutely.
Of my cars look like there were rentals.
Yeah.
They were just detailed, just cleaned. They get in, they smell nice, the whole bit. And there is something to be said for getting into a clean car and just going, it's clean,
yes,
man. Instead of looking at going, oh, the grime is crapping everywhere. Ugh.
Yeah, and it amazes not only myself. I'm not really shocked by a whole lot anymore, but I have employees that are just blown away by how dirty and dingy these cars are.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I start to think, well, how does this person's home look? They have their children in this, and that's a lot of where I try to help my clients is, do what's best for your children. Your children ride around in this. This is their shuttle. Let's at least have it clean. So they have, they have their friends in it. Their friends don't say, oh, Mrs. Jones, your vehicle was absurdly dirty, and then your kid's not playing with, their child anymore. Well, it says something about who you are.
Well, just even, I found some really nice smelling spritzes out there and stuff. And just even like one little spritz, close the doors, let it sit for a little while, open the door for maybe 10, 15 minutes, close it back up, and it seems to have, kind of permeated. And
yeah.
It's nice when somebody gets in and goes, they start smelling and go, it's still got the brand new car smell, and it's like 7 years
Absolutely.
old.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have a specialized leather conditioner that we use here in the shop, and anybody can go out and get it on Amazon or anything like that.
Right.
But once the leather's clean and you throw this stuff on, I mean, it has that new car, that new car leather smell. And man, my clients love it. The dealership I'm at, they love it.
Yep.
And oh man, I tell you, that's a whole nother scenario in itself, is dealing with dealerships and kind of getting to see the backroom operation of what they do there.
Oh yeah.
That's
I
oh man.
detailed for a dealership for a while.
Yeah, so I mean, you kind of know the hustle bustle of what goes into that.
Oh
It's
yeah, I
it's no
remember.
joke.
Well, I got a story for you. So I was working at a dealership. I was working my way through graduate school at the time, and so it was a part time job for me, like $8 an hour. I didn't really care. Run it through the car wash, vacuum it, make sure it looks nice. And it was they expected it done in like 20 minutes, which
Sure.
I'm a little I'm kind of anal sometimes, but it's like, all right, I got 20 minutes, that's it. And I got this one guy who was kind of on his last leg, and he was about to get canned. And if he didn't get like the dealership of those ratings, 5 stars, this and everything.
Right.
And he came back to me one day and just reamed me a new one. And I'm looking at him like, this is a job I don't really care about. So you go ahead and ream me out. I don't care. And he's like, well, you didn't wash the engine because they wanted me to power spray the engine bay. And
Plenty of times.
yeah, I'm like, I can do that, but you didn't ask me to. You just said detail the car. And to
Sure.
me, that's kind of like an extra step. But I don't think he lasted very long. But that was I got my butt chewed for not taking the power sprayer to it. So
Oh yeah, I mean it's consistent even where we're at. We're doing anywhere between 13 to 20 vehicles a day in a 10-hour shift. So I mean
that's a lot.
half hour time frame, and this is including the polishing sometimes. I mean yeah, a lot of work for sure, and just the demand of I guess the volume and the expectation, they don't meet up. And I hate to say it, but how somebody truly doesn't understand the workload that goes into just cleaning a car
Yeah, it's
shows me
time.
that either one, they don't clean their own car, or two, they just don't care.
Yeah,
And ultimately the money's good enough where we're at now, where everything's kind of a wash, but it's a grind for
it
sure.
is, and it's a lot of
It is for
it's a
sure a
lot of
grind.
time. It's
Yeah.
a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
your time. And I want to ask you a question. I gotta tell on myself. I gotta tell you a funny story.
Sure.
So this is the story about how I maced myself. Okay, it's a true story. So,
Okay.
this is going to lead me into my next question, which is, what is the weirdest thing you found in a car? By
Oh man.
detailing it. Okay, so we took in a trade-in in this place, and it was this little 2-door Cavalier thing, and obviously owned by a girl, because it had little hair scrunchies and like
Sure.
lipstick under the seats and everything like that. And I found one of those little tiny keychain mace thingies,
Yeah.
and it was the you kind of put it on your keychain, and it had popped off, so all you saw was a little nub.
The little nipple. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I am curious, like, oh, how does this thing work? I'm trying to push it and manipulate it and that sort of thing, and I push it away from me, and I hold it into the into the garbage can, and I'm like, this isn't working. And I finally get it to get my fingernail on it, and I kind of went
Yeah.
like this, and it went into the garbage and straight up into my face. I have never coughed, and like every orifice in your face just starts watering like crazy.
Yes.
And that's the only time I've ever been maced. Right? Knock on wood. Right?
Yeah.
Here's to hoping I don't mess up somebody who wants to do that. But that's the time I maced myself in the face.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's definitely not fun.
No,
We have come across some of, I mean, just boatloads of weird stuff. So where we're at has a fairly hardcore methamphetamine problem. So we come across not only methamphetamine syringes, so real careful. Yeah, careful with stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
But we also get a lot of the fixed income, older community who's diabetic. So we get all the medical equipment, the big old pee reservoirs for testing urine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we've come across, I mean, not just like one of these that has a little squirt, no, like gallons of this stuff sitting in the trunk. And I open the car up, I kind of do my thing, blowing out the door jambs, quick little blowout, and I go to run it through the car wash, standard process at the dealership. And I'm like, this car just reeks of urine. And, sure enough, we open up the trunk and it's like a bootlegger's just paradise of what looks like yellow moonshine back there.
oh,
And
oh.
yeah, for about 15 minutes, we're just sitting there, gallon after gallon of this, just blown away at the
It's like
at the
Howard
level.
Hughes level of urine.
Yeah, that's probably one of the most gross things I've come across outside of, standard bodily fluids from Uber drivers, transporting the drunk people and things of
Yep,
that nature.
yep.
But we've come across, female pleasure devices before. It's it's an interesting lifestyle. If you want a different story for every day, each vehicle truly tells a story of its own about the previous owners.
Oh, I'm a believer in that. Your car will tell me a lot about who you are as a person.
Sure.
And I was riding around with my boss, and my boss is very Craig. He's a nice guy, and we get along very well. And he owns like a 12-year-old Volvo, and he's
Okay.
always talking about replacing it. And you kind of know where I'm going with this. And we had a conversation, and I said, "Yeah, you can really tell a lot by the car they drive." And he goes, "Well, what does my Volvo say about me, Eric?" And I said, "Well, Craig, have you ever made a decision that didn't involve a spreadsheet and a pros and cons list?" And he goes, "Well, I don't see how that's really relevant to this conversation."
Exactly. Mr. Risk Assessment.
And that is him to a T, and he's the first one to admit it. And he's been very successful doing his thing. But you can really tell a lot about somebody and their car, which leads me to my question. I'm kind of curious to know about, which is, gross stuff aside, but like, what would you say has been like the coolest or best or like most memorable car you've ever had the pleasure of detailing?
The pinnacle of my auto detailing.
Yeah.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. I don't know if I necessarily have a favorite car per se, but a couple of years ago, I got the luxury of going through and detailing about 8 classic Mini Coopers and MGs, private collection. And
Nice.
To see the level of restoration work that went into each one of these cars to bring it back to the point that it was before I even got to touch it just blew my mind. I mean, $50,000, $60,000, $80,000 into this car that's no bigger than an eighth of what my garage space is. And
park a whole bunch in there.
Sure, absolutely. And I would say that my favorite one was a Royal Mail Mini Cooper. So an original mail carrier from over in Britain that got shoved into a junkyard that was brought back over here to the United States, fully restored back to its previous glory. And it definitely told a story. Really cool to see. And unfortunately, 2 of those vehicles were lost in a big, massive fire up in Redding, California recently. But, majority did survive. They had insurance on the property and everything like that. So the story lives on through other vehicles. But to have that group of classic Mini Coopers just, for my own portfolio, and to give that as kind of their end of life car, to have it be super nice, cool. The tail end.
And those Mini Coopers are fun.
This guy, he used to race them out at Laguna Seca. Awesome. And the guy has so many trophies and awards that he takes these Mini Coopers, he'll supercharge them. He has an R53 Mini, so the newer Mini Cooper. Yeah. And it's making like 450 horsepower, something stupid to the front wheels on this car.
That's awesome.
But I got the luxury to drive it, and I'm sitting here blowing the tires off of it in 3rd and 4th gear. And I've got the biggest smile on my face, and the guy's sitting next to me with a huge smile on his face. And those are the kind of moments as a detailer that truly attach yourself to one car or one specific group of cars. So I'd have to say that those Mini Coopers and that client specifically are the ones that have made the most impact, kind of the pinnacle of my career.
You've reminded me of something that I like to tell people is if you've got a car and you really like it. I freelance journalist, automotive stuff, and kind of my big thing is photographs. I want to make sure I get
Sure.
nice photographs, and I always try to tell people, look, if you have a car you really like and it's something that you enjoy, you should get, and you don't have to pay a lot of money, but something, a really nice photo, because more times than I care to count, it's happened where the car got smashed, it burned
Yep.
in a fire, got hit by a tree, or somebody plowed it into a tree,
Absolutely.
and then you have no photo, you have no memory of your car left. It's just poof.
Yeah, absolutely gone. I actually brought that up to one of my guys at the shop, my foreman, probably, I
Mhm.
don't know, a month and a half ago. We were sitting there just bullshitting about first cars.
Sure.
My first car wasn't anything special. It was a 1982 single cab long bed GMC.
Sure.
And but I went through, I swapped a 350 into it, Camaro 5-speed at the time, and it was just
Nice.
yeah, it was a blast. And ran into some insurance stuff from a small accident, repaired it, decided to upgrade my sound system.
Sure.
Well, I in that time I fell in love with a chick. Long story, no longer together. I'm
Mhm.
at a loss due to that vehicle. And so I tried to track the vehicle down, and about 6 weeks after I had sold it, it was plastered into by a drunk driver. So
Oh.
unfortunately, I lost my first car. I didn't, I have one picture of it,
Yep.
and it's from the first accident. So to be able to, you know, kind of tell my people, hold on to your first car. If you have that first car, hold on to it, treasure it, even if it sits in the garage and you tow it from state to state to state. Take that thing with you, because when you're in your late 20s, early to mid 30s, you're going to want to do something with that car,
Sure.
and it'll mean something to you,
Oh,
if
for
you'll
sure.
have that attachment. And I think they kind of took that to heart. One of them has like I think it's an 84 Trans Am, and he
Oh,
wants
yep.
to convert it into a Night Rider car.
Okay.
He's obsessed with the 80s. I told him, go for it, man.
That's
Invest
awesome.
every penny. If you want to come down to the shop and make a couple extra $100 to help you out with your car, I got you, man.
Yeah,
Come on down. I could use the extra help, and we'll get your dream, to a reality.
that's awesome. So I guess the big question people are going to want to know is, those of you who are listening at this point are going to want to know, what is the nastiest, grossest, worst detail you've ever had to do,
Oh man.
other than the
Okay.
T, beside
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah,
T car.
yeah. No worries. So that was not quite as bad as really getting into the trenches. So I
Okay.
had a 2001 two-door Honda Accord. The pictures showed the vehicle was black, sitting up in the hills of Bernie, California.
Okay. Sounds pretty.
Guy told me, it sat outside through the winter time. No big deal. Should clean up.
Okay.
Cool. We'll come up there. We'll tow it down. We'll bring it down to the shop. So we get up there with the truck and trailer. We go to pick this vehicle up. Battery's dead. I finally get the doors open, the hood, start looking at it. The level of dirt and mold on this vehicle was unreal. I mean, you're probably talking inch thick of mold on cloth seats.
Ugh.
I mean, just completely demolished. The carpets, I can't even see the natural color of the carpets any longer. Covered in dog hair.
Ugh.
It looked like there'd been rats living in it for quite some time. I mean, the guy told me, I looked at him, I said, I don't know if you really want to keep this car. I mean, we're going to be into it for probably $4,000 or $5,000, about the value of the car,
Oh yeah.
to go ahead and recover it.
That's
And he
hazard
goes,
pay.
yeah, absolutely. So I threw on the old painter suit, my
Yep.
trusty old, gas mask there, and went to town on the thing. We replaced the carpets. We did a full recovery on the upholstery with just replacing the foam.
Oh, nice.
Pulled the dashboard out of it. Full blown recovery. We had about a week and a half into the vehicle, but when he got it back, we come to find out that it was his mother's vehicle who had passed on about 4 years prior. And it had just sat out there in the woods, and he didn't care how much it was going to cost. He wanted that vehicle back to its former glory.
Gotcha.
So to be able to take that, and bring it full circle for the guy from telling him, hey, just sell the car, to here it is, man, a brand new car for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then to hear that story, it really hit home. I'm sitting here getting goosebumps talking about it. But after having that kind of labor, we lost our ass, on it as a business. But at the end of the day, it's jobs like that keep me going and doing what I do.
You bring up a good point, which I think everybody does have a story. I was lucky enough to get invited to go on VinWiki because I had some crazy, some weird things happen to me. But I think that's part of the reason why I started doing this, is because a lot of people, after they saw me on that, reached out to me. Well, I got stories too, and I got this, and I'm like, well, I don't control what VinWiki.
Where do we go?
They're their own folks, and they do a really good job. And Ed, I honestly could not have been nicer to me the entire time there. But I can only do what I can do. So this is why I decided to start doing this, to hear other people's stories, hear what they got going on, because everybody's got one, right? You've got a good story.
Oh yeah,
coming out of the military,
sure.
Just something you enjoy doing, and slowly built it up, and now it's full time. You're running your own gig. Epic Auto Solutions, so we'll just kind of throw that plug in there.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
No problem, man. We started out with that, and I think everybody has a story, and just like that Honda, why would it's a Honda Civic? Who when you look at it,
who cares?
They made 1 billion of them, and he could probably go out and buy one and go out and drive it and have a great time. But to him, it was a big deal.
Absolutely.
So that's it. Just kind of reinforces why I've decided to kind of do this. So I want to say thanks and appreciate your time doing this. And we still got a little bit more time. We still kind of chill.
Sure.
This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great platform that you're offering, just to the car enthusiast community in general. Every car guy has some sort of crazy story, whether it's the high school sweetheart that he found 10 years down the road, or if it's, this little Honda Accord, Honda Civic that we're sitting here talking about. Everyone's got some sort of story that will touch another car enthusiast in some sort of way. So I congratulate you definitely on the platform and what you've got going on. I think it's great for the enthusiast community.
Yeah, and I hope to keep this going. You're the fourth one, kind of in the line here, and I again appreciate it. Yeah, well, I put out a call to everybody, and my wife was flipping through my Facebook page, and she goes, "Holy crap! All these people responded to you," and I'm going, "Holy cow! I had no idea that would respond." I mean, this is the list of all the people that said they would show up.
Hell yeah. So I have a question for you. I'm going to do a little bit of reverse psychology here on you. Sure. How's it been for you building a YouTube channel, right? Building this following, from just where you are at to where you're at now. Yeah. And for those who are getting into it, so late in the game,
it's pretty late.
Being an automotive YouTuber, but, what's your advice for them and, kind of your journey to where we're at now?
So in my experience, and there are others who are clearly better at this than I am. I'm sitting at roughly 6,000 subs at this point, and I play a fair amount of pool, and I go on a pool league and stuff. And a lot of my friends who are on the pool league see my videos and they make fun of me, and they're like, "Oh, YouTube guy." I said, "You know what? I don't make a ton of money off of it right now, but it's enough to pay a good chunk of my truck payment right now." So
there you go, right?
And I'm having a good time with it, and I get to meet cool people like you. You and I this is the first time meeting kind of face to face ish.
Yeah. Hi.
And, it's great because the opportunities to meet folks. So what I have learned from folks is that if you're going to have a channel, it has to be kind of specialized. You have to be very clear in what you're doing. I have just chosen to do whatever kind of comes to my mind. So you'll see a lot of random things. Like I love playing with Legos, and I like building things, and I built a table.
I love that, by the way. I thought that was beautiful when it was finished.
Thank you. I'm a believer in something called a red thread, and something I've talked about with other folks here. So I'm going to ask you the question. I'll turn it back on you a little bit. but I'll give you a chance to think about it. As I think everybody has a red thread that kind of it starts really young and kind of follows you wherever you go, and call it a theme, call it a passion or whatever. And mine is generally I like to learn how stuff works, and I like to tinker with things, and I like to build things so that, if you look at Legos, cars, tables, I make rings too. The thread is I like to create stuff, and to learn the skill to be able to do it, to find people who are really good at it, who will teach me, and then be able to go out and do my own thing. So that's kind of my red thread. And the YouTube channel has helped. It's a unique, it's its own unique kind of beast in and of itself. But that said, my advice would be specific. Find out what you're going to do. What do you want to do? Is it like Ammo, for example, and Ammo NYC?
Yeah. Larry over there.
Huge following, and it's just detailing. That's all he does. And he does a really good job with it. Don't be afraid to add some practical effects. Don't afraid to be funny. And my advice is don't be afraid of negative, the thumbs down stuff.
Sure.
Yeah, who cares? There's always going to be
someone's always going to be out there hating on what you're doing.
There's 7 billion people in the world. Chances
How do you satisfy everybody? Yeah.
It's like that old Mitch Hedberg joke. You can't please all the people all the time. And last night, all those people were at my show.
Yeah, there you go. there you go, right?
Yeah, so this is the question I've been kind of asking everybody, which is, in your life, kind of what would be the theme that you've kind of surrounded or created your life around? Mine has been, creating things, or building stuff, figuring out how to do it. But what would you say yours is?
To tell you the truth, I really, looking back on it, I think it's the pursuit of the unknown. What's around the next bend? Curiosity, more or less. If I'm interested on how to build a 4L80, I'm going to rip it apart and I'm going to figure out how to do it. That can I do it? That challenging myself, that consistent just driving to the next level. And if I hit my peak, this is my peak. This is where I'm at. Yeah. And I think just that continued curiosity to find my pinnacle is what drives me to this day.
Yeah.
Ever since I can remember, hey, why am I riding this small bike when I can ride that big bike? Why am I riding this pedal bike instead of one with a motor? And it ultimately led me into doing burnouts with my dad and,
nice.
Driving along these beautiful desert roads at, proficient speeds.
Speeds that are within the legal range, of course.
Of course, as we know, Utah has a wonderful speed limit set in it, but it is well enforced.
Is it really speeding if you don't get caught?
They always say, does the tree make noise, when it falls if no one's around, right?
Yeah, so exactly.
I kind of live by that principle, and it's worked out fairly well for me over the years.
Nice. Well, I think it's a cool thing to figure out what your thing is. Your thing is curiosity and learning. So I guess the next logical question is, now that you've been doing the detailing thing for a while, do you think you hit your pinnacle? Have you hit your highest detail? I would say
that I've definitely found my niche. Whether it be through cleaning the cars, doing the paint correction on them, just providing the service, running the business. To tell you the truth, I hate running a business. I'd rather be cleaning cars all day, just be the worker bee. Sure. But there's not money in the worker bee. There's money in the business ownership. And
That's true.
I've got a family to provide for, right? So I wouldn't say that I've hit my pinnacle necessarily in the industry, but I've definitely found my niche, and I'm looking more into product sales and development and getting on the spearhead of what the industry is as far as paint protection goes. I mean, Barry Maguire said it best. You don't get rich by cleaning cars. You get rich by supplying the guys cleaning cars.
Right. And that dude's got some money.
I would say so.
Just a smidge, yeah.
Just a little bit, right?
Yeah, I follow his Facebook page, and he's showing off his Ford GT and this and that, and it's like, okay.
Yeah, let me just, be humble over here with this little turd. And yeah, yeah, I couldn't imagine having, I can imagine, I guess, having that kind of money, like, being able to daily drive a Veyron around and have the highest mileage Veyron, or, to go out and risk driving a $300,000 car on the road.
Because you
And
can.
yeah, and I just, I get worried driving around just my own turds because of my sentimental attachment to them,
Nice.
So yeah, I would definitely say that my end game will be in the detailing realm, whether that's a car wash empire, whether, it's strictly product sales,
Sure.
or whatnot. I can't be bent over a hood for the next 20, 30 years. And I'm a realist. I realize that. So the transition's kind of happening now, but it's still in its early state. Just, time will tell where it takes me.
So when we were prepping for this a little bit, and I'm just aware of time here, so I just kind of want to throw that out there. More of a time thing, more than we could go on for hours, because it's been a good conversation. So you had talked about kind of the future of like ceramic coatings and that sort of thing. I'll be honest, I'm somebody who is learning.
Absolutely.
To detail well. I take advice from others to do it, but I'm not a professional. And I don't know, where do you see all this stuff heading? Because it's now become its own thing. It wasn't a thing 30 years ago.
Right. Yeah. So I think detailing came up where there was just a few industry leaders. Quite a few years ago, let's say 15 years ago, there were just a few industry leaders out there, and everything was really secretive. It's, oh, how did you get that scratch out? How did you, take care of this Alcantara? Well, now all that's kind of, come into this giant merger where it's open information now. Everything's an open book. I'm not afraid to help you. You're not afraid to help me. But it's, I believe the industry is going to go in an upward direction, but there needs to be a differentiation between a mobile wash and what a detail truly is. I believe that the word detail has been tainted, and we're in that transitional period of educating the consumer on what a proper detail is.
Sure.
Now, as far as the detailer goes, I believe that wax is still necessary in some application, but ultimately it's dying off to ceramic coatings. The new graphene research that's happening, not only within, solvent production, through protection, but solar, battery storage, just everything that this little miracle product is. You're seeing like detailing manufacturers starting to research this product as well for their standard sealants for 3 to 6 months of protection, all the way out to, 60, 100,000 miles of protection. So I think we're looking more into long-term protection as far as paint goes, but interiors will still be the common practice of the quick blow and go for the soccer moms.
Sure. And I think what you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong here, is the differentiation between your home gamer, which is me. I can go out.
The weekend warrior.
Yeah, I have ceramic coated my Corvette, and they look pretty good, and I was pretty proud of myself. But it was 16 hours of cleaning, clay bar, color correction, and then the actual application of it. It was a pretty long weekend. So that said, I think what you're saying is there's going to be a distinction between your home gamer who can go out and just buy a standard polisher for a couple $100 at Harbor Freight and wants to do it at home, and the actual, full-time guy such as yourself who's out there, making a living at it, who knows, everything that there is to do. And and there's going to be a noticeable quality difference, just as in everything, between your amateur and your professional. So
of course,
there's going to be a bigger divide, I think, coming up.
Yeah, I think so. And, not to say that what we do is rocket science. Anybody can pick up a polisher. I hate to say it, get on YouTube and do a little bit of research, Hell, even see, Ammo NYC and their channel, what Larry has going on over there. Follow his tactics. I mean, I didn't learn this by going to schools and doing that, I picked up a bunch of junkyard panels, bought a polisher, some pads, screwed up my own cars, screwed up my family's cars, and ultimately kind of figured out how to, bring everything to, like I say, keep saying it, bring it full circle to where I am today, where I live off of what I do. And I enjoy it. I truly enjoy it.
And most people don't make a living at it or can't, even though they try to. And we've had similar things here in Minnesota where guys, they keep undercutting each other, and then you get, the guys show up in a panel van that's, 6 inches of rust and a dirty bucket, So I think I agree. We're moving to that bigger divide between the professional and the amateur home gamer. I do have to wrap up here.
Sure.
With our time, and I want to say thanks for taking the time. This has been a lot of fun, and
absolutely,
I appreciated your stories. This was a good time, man.
Hey, yeah, man, and to all your listeners out there, it's Sunday. The roads await us. Go out and drive. I'll see you then, Eric. Thanks for having me.
That's a great place to end it. Have a good one.
Hey, yeah.